Most people prepare their answers for a job interview, but many forget the first sentence and the last question. And those moments matter because first impressions and final impressions stay in the interviewer's mind. In this video, we are going to learn how to start and finish a job interview in English with natural, professional phrases. Hi, and welcome to the World Language School. Today, we are continuing on our practical series on English for job interviews. In the previous video, we learned phrases for answering interview questions. In this video, we'll focus on phrases you can use at the beginning and at the end of an interview. We are going to look at 4 useful phrases. 2 phrases to open the interview professionally, and 2 phrases to ask good questions at the end. Because when the interviewer says, "Do you have any questions for us?" please don't just say no. It's not wrong, but it can sound like you're not very interested. So let's make it better. Now, the first phrase we're going to look at is something you can say at the beginning of your interview, and that is, "Thank you for inviting me today." You can use this at the very beginning of the job interview. So, for example, you can say, "Thank you for inviting me today. I'm happy to have the opportunity to speak with you." This phrase is polite, professional, and simple. So don't say only thanks, because in a job interview, it can sound too casual. Say thanks for your friend. Use thank you for the interview. So instead of thanks, you can actually say, "Thank you for inviting me today." Much better. The second phrase is, "I've been looking forward to this conversation." You can use this when you want to show positive interest. For example, "I've been looking forward to this conversation because the role really matches my experience." This sounds very natural and very prepared. It shows that you are interested, but it's not exaggerated. You don't need to enter the interview like, "This is the greatest day of my life." Professional enthusiasm is more than enough. A small grammar note. I've been looking forward to this conversation. The full form is, "I have been looking forward to this conversation." Now, this is present perfect continuous. So the structure is I have been plus the verb plus ing. We use it because the feeling started before the interview and continues now while you're speaking. So simple meaning, I was interested before, I am still interested now. That is why it sounds natural at the beginning of the interview. Now let's put these 2 phrases together. The interviewer will probably say, "Good morning, nice to meet you." And you, as a candidate, can simply say, "Good morning, nice to meet you too. Thank you for inviting me today. I've been looking forward to this conversation." That's it. It's simple, it's professional, and it's confident. Now, we've looked at 2 phrases for the beginning of the interview. Now let's look at 2 phrases, or actually questions, at the end of the interview. So the interviewer says, "Do you have any questions for us?" Now, this is not just a polite question. It is also a chance to show interest, maturity, and preparation. So here are 2 useful questions you can use. Phrase number 3. Could you tell me more about the team? You can use this when you want to understand who you're going to work with or who you would work with. For example, you could say, "Could you tell me more about the team I would be working with?" Now, this sounds very professional because it shows that you care about collaboration and also the working environment. And of course, it can also be very useful for you to understand. A job is not only a list of tasks, it is also people, communication, and of course, daily life. Now, for the last phrase or question, so number 4, is what are the next steps in the process? So you can use this at the very end of the interview. So before we finish, could I ask what the next steps in the process are? This is very polite and also very clear. So it helps you to understand what happens after the interview, and it ends the conversation in a confident way. Now, before we finish, let me give you a little grammar tip. Now, polite questions with could. In interviews, could is very useful. So compare these two. Tell me more about the team. This sounds very direct. You can say, could you tell me more about the team? It sounds much better, doesn't it? Another example is, could I ask what the next steps in the process are? This sounds again polite and professional. In job interview English, grammar is not only about being correct, it also helps you sound respectful and natural. So please don't say, no, I don't have any questions. Say, yes, I have one question. Could you tell me more about the team? Or before we finish, could I ask what the next steps in the process are? This shows, of course, interest and preparation. Now, let's look at a final mini role play. So the interviewer will ask you, do you have any questions for us? The candidate can then reply, yes, thank you. Could you tell me more about the team I would be working with? The interviewer could then say, of course, you would work with our customer support and sales team. The candidate can say, that sounds very interesting. And before we finish, could I ask what the next steps in the process are? Excellent. Professional, polite, and natural. Okay, so in this video, you learned about 4 useful phrases to start and finish a job interview in English. And also we looked at 2 grammar points. I have been plus the verb plus ing for something that started before the conversation and continues now, and could for polite and professional questions. So remember, you don't need perfect English. You need prepared, clear, usable English. That is what helps you communicate with confidence. If this video was useful, please click on the like button and subscribe to the World Language School for more practical English tips. And also, please write in the comments which moment is more stressful for you, starting the interview or asking questions at the end. If you haven't watched it yet, watch the previous video about 6 phrases to answer job interview questions professionally. Thank you. See you next time.